What is up, guys? I cry over spilt milk here. So here we are then. It is the beginning of October. We've just had the Japanese Grand Prix, and we'll be at the US Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Why not name them after the American races? Why not name them all after the states they are in? Well, we're going to three in America next season. We're going to have one in Texas, one in Miami, and then one in Las Vegas. But let's save that discussion for another time. Let's focus on the here and now. Today I want to just cover my thoughts on the last recent goings on in Formula 1, going into the closing four races and conclusion of the 2022 season. Firstly, I want to say congratulations to Max Verstappen for scoring his second championship, thanks to some off-road driving from rival Leclerc, earning him a time penalty, meaning he is now mathematically out of the championship battle along with Perez, meaning that Max is now world champion. I'm sure Max will want to continue racking in the wins in the final four races, but if I was Christian Horner, the Red Bull boss, I would perhaps put Nick de Vries in the Red Bull seat to get him some additional mileage ready for his AlphaTauri drive next season, or maybe promote Yuki Tsunoda to evaluate him for future in case they need him to replace one of their drivers. I hope Max will help Perez score second in the championship and repay the favour Perez gave him in Spain, among other favours. With only 176 points maximum, I hope I've done my maths right there, left on the board for the Constructors' Championship. If I've done my maths right, and I hope I have, Red Bull only need to outscore Ferrari by 21 points in Texas to win the championship. Remember, if by some miracle Ferrari somehow tie with Red Bull will still win at this stage on countback, as Red Bull have 14 wins this season compared to the 4 Ferrari have won thus far. Even if Ferrari max out and do get 1-2s in the final 4 rounds with fast lap, it won't be enough to tie with Red Bull. They would need to outscore Red Bull completely on that one. Okay, so let's stick with Red Bull. As we all know, along with Aston Martin, have been guilty of breaching the budget cap. Should Red Bull and their drivers' results be expunged, and Aston Martin's results expunged as well, it would certainly bring the championship fight very much back alive. It does seem funny that Aston Martin were also found breaching the budget, and you've got two teams at opposite ends of the grid being found guilty, proving in Aston Martin's case you can't throw money at things to make them better. As the breach was found to be minor, I think the best thing to do is to raise the other team's budgets to match Red Bull and Aston's, as you can't take back the overspend, or lower Red Bull's and Aston Martin's budget next season. So over 2 seasons, the amount spent would be in line with other teams. For example, and bear with me, I have no idea how much it is to run an F1 team. If the cap was set at £60 million and Red Bull spent £70 million, they should be limited to £50 million next season. So basically, you'd spend £120 million over the 2 seasons. Red Bull have already spent £70 million one season, so they should only spend £50 million on the next season. And then all the other teams will have £60 million each for each of the 2 seasons. I think that would be the fairest outcome for minor infringement. But what do you guys think? Leave me a comment. If it was a major infringement, they should be allowed to race but unable to score points for a season or 2. Also, I just want to give a big shout out to Latifi for scoring his first points this season, putting him 20th in the standings, ahead of the stand-ins Hulkenberg and de Vries, and not having to suffer the embarrassment and indignation of finishing behind drivers who only have had perhaps one drive this season. Now, let's talk silly season with the transfer market. In Japan, it was announced Pierre Gasly would move to AlphaTauri to Alpine with super sub Nick de Vries, taking Gasly's seat at AlphaTauri after AlphaTauri could not secure the super license needed to bring the American driver they wanted to bring in from other Formula in the United States. For me, these are the first feel-good transfers for a while. I'm sure everyone will be happy with these moves, and I feel they're well deserved. As I've said many times before, Gasly needed to move to an Alpine or McLaren, or even take a gamble at a team like Haas, for example, to progress his career, and this move has certainly been a long time coming. With Sergio Perez cementing his drive at Red Bull, The path for Gasly to stay Red Bull certainly blocked for a few seasons, and if Gasly does well, then Red Bull could sign them back. It'd be exciting to see how Gasly and Ocon stack up against each other. Both drivers are trying to get themselves into a better team. As I said before, Gasly's trying to get into Red Bull, and Ocon's trying to get into Mercedes. So they'll be wanting to show their parents' teams they are worthy of the drive. Both drivers are a good benchmark for each other, and the competition to be the best Alpine driver will bring out the best in both drivers. Also, there was a rivalry between the two Frenchmen going back to their karting days. So both drivers will be wanting to fly the tricolour for the French team, basically flying the French tag for the French flag for the French team. Now let's move on to Nyck de Vries. It is amazing to think that F1 teams will not be interested in an F Formula 2 and Formula E champion. Or maybe they were, and Nyck was waiting for the right opening, with Nyck being a Mercedes reserve driver and understandably not wanting to cash in at a backmarker team, fail to impress, meaning his career will be stuck in the midfield or backmarker purgery. With AlphaTauri, I think he has a great opportunity, even if Nyck does not end up in the Red Bull seat. As long as he can confidently beat Tsunoda like Gasly's doing, he will be fine. Again, if he is good enough, Mercedes might come knocking back for him. Mercedes now have the good problem of having too many drivers on their books in F1, but not enough seats for them all. Again, the prize of a Mercedes seat should push their affiliated drivers to fulfill the potential and show Mercedes why they need to be signing them, like what Russell did. His Williams may have been the slowest car at times, but he still could pull some excellent results out of the bag at times when the opportunity presented itself. Guan Yu Zhou has also recently been confirmed to continue at Alfa Romeo, and I agree that is a good move. Zhou is worthy of the second year in the top flight. He's had a bit of bad luck this season. I think he's had the most retirement so far out of all the drivers, so he's been a bit unlucky. I know he's quite low down in the standings, but it's his first season. Hopefully in the second season he'll do better, and really show the world what he can do. So with these two transfers and Guan Yu Zhou being re-signed for Alfa Romeo, there are now only 2 seats left up for grabs in Formula 1 for 2023, one at Haas and the other at Williams. Three drivers on the grid currently looking for a seat: Ricciardo, Latifi and Schumacher. However, the incumbents of these seats, Schumacher and Latifi, are well unlikely to retain their seats as far as we know. In Latifi's case, Williams have already announced they are parting ways with Latifi, and it's unlikely Haas will sign Latifi, but who knows? We have had some shock transfers in the past. Haas, an American team, may want the Canadian Latifi and the cash he'll bring to the team to replace the money Mazepin was bringing to the team. They got, as you remember, Haas got rid of Nikita Mazepin shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine as a result of that. In Schumacher's case, it's no secret Schumacher and team principal Haas, Gunter Steiner, are not on friendliest of terms, but Schumacher's upturning form, coupled with him keeping his car for the most part out the barriers, may just save him. Steiner has said they want Ricciardo, but they will not wait for him to make a decision. I think Ricciardo was holding the Alpine seat, but now that gone, Ricciardo has Mercedes. There's 2 options, join Williams or Haas. Out of the 2, I'm sure Ricciardo will only consider Haas or be a reserve driver for Mercedes. So it's either join Haas as a full-time driver or join Mercedes as a reserve driver. With de Vries leaving the Mercedes reserve role to join AlphaTauri. Ricciardo is a multiple race winner. He was more than welcome to help Mercedes develop the car with his wealth of experience at multiple teams. Ricciardo's coming quite a journeyman, as we all know at the moment, after leaving Red Bull. He spent some time at Renault, then at McLaren, and then now he'll probably join Mercedes. Especially, it might be important for Mercedes to get a driver like of Ricciardo's caliber to help develop the car, especially as Ferrari and Red Bull have stolen the march from Mercedes in this round of the new tech regulations to help Mercedes catch up. So I think Russell will fill the vacant Mercedes reserve role, and who knows, he may find himself racing for Mercedes in a few seasons if Hamilton hangs up his helmet. If Ocon and De Vries fail to impress, or Ricard, they might think we want someone experienced to be with Russell. They might give Ricardo the nod. I don't think Latifi will be on the 2023 grid. Yes, Latifi has taken his chances like Russell and has done like Russell has done and scored points when opportunities were presented, but it's not doing this consistently enough, I believe. And Albon has very much put Latifi in the shade this season. So it is worth Williams to roll the dice to see if they can get a driver that is closer to Albon or even better than Albon. Would Schumacher go to Williams? It's an intriguing idea and one that will save Schumacher's career for now, especially as Schumacher is at risk of not just being at Formula 1 but off Ferrari's Drivers' Academy. For now, at least, it'll be if Schumacher does go to Williams, for now he'll have his career saved. Much like what Williams did with Albon, they pretty much have saved his career. I'm sure the environment that Williams is very nurturing, and as long as Schumacher gets on the pace quickly and is at least close to Albon, then he'll be fine if he does go to Williams. With Williams, both Piastri and De Vries were earmarked for the seats vacated by Latifi, but both have found better offers elsewhere. I think they would choose between Schumacher or promote their F2 talent Logan Sargent. I'm sure they will go for Sargent. They just need him to secure his place in the F2 Championship, so that way he has enough super license points for the drive. The F2 season, if you don't know, finishes at the same time as the F1 season at Abu Dhabi in mid-November, so it will be at least a month until Sargent is confirmed at Williams, and of course, Williams will be keeping his options open and flirting with other drivers in case Sargent does not get enough super license points. But I think Sargent is top of the queue for Williams. With Haas, there's less linkage to that seat. There's no academy for Haas, but I think it's between Ricciardo, Schumacher, and surprisingly Antonio Giovinazzi after a season away from the F1, and Nico Hülkenberg has also been touted for the seat. Now let's make some decisions now. Decision time now, and I think Ricciardo will fill the vacant reserve role at Mercedes for a season or two, waiting to see what happens in the sidelines. Perhaps build up his contacts and his, with other teams. So if there is a role, the team already, the team that he's already been talking to will already know him really well and give him the drive. I think Schumacher will stay at Haas. I think Steiner is giving Ricciardo time to decide, and if he wants the Haas seat, when Ricciardo signs Mercedes reserve role, I think the domino effect will be that Schumacher will be re-signed for Haas, which will follow shortly after. I think Steiner and Schumacher are on better terms now, and Schumacher will get one more chance. I think, it's kind of like a default option. I think Steiner has also made it clear he says he wants no more rookies, so I think Schumacher will stay. Steiner would want someone who's already in the sport. So that'll be either Ricciardo or Schumacher. That's the only two, and Latifi. So they're the only drivers who are currently in the field but without a seat for next season. Vettel's already announced his retirement, so I doubt he'll be able to drag him out of retirement. So by default, I reckon Schumacher will get another season, and we'll see if Schumacher improves or more options appear for Steiner. In the meantime, who knows? Schumacher might impress, in his third season, and perhaps get a better drive elsewhere. Who knows for 2024 onwards? With Williams, it seems all other options have been taken away from them, and again, it's another default option. I think Logan Sargent will get the seat. They just can't confirm it yet. He just needs to score the super license points before it can be confirmed. I think Williams are open to the idea of signing a rookie. They already have Alexander Albon as a dependable point scorer, someone to score the points and get the team and car up there, so they can take a risk on a rookie. So in conclusion, to the transfers, I think Ricciardo to Mercedes reserved, Schumacher to stay on at Haas, and Logan Sargent graduating the academy to fill the empty Williams seat. Another discussion point coming out of the Japanese Grand Prix is safety. A crane being on circuit with no safety car to slow down the pack while the car is being recovered. Let's not forget what's happened at this very racetrack at Suzuka 8 years ago. The unfortunate incident involving Jules Bianchi hitting a service vehicle recovering another car. This led to Bianchi falling into a coma, which he never came out of, and he eventually passed away. This was the last time in Formula 1 that an incident during a race led to the death of a driver, and I am sure that everyone wants to keep it that way. I know since the incident we've had the introduction of the Halo, which may have saved Bianchi's life and has saved many drivers' lives since, including Charles Leclerc when he was at Sauber, and I can't remember what Grand Prix it was. Alonso flew his car over him, over the cockpit. If the Halo wasn't there, maybe it might be a nasty accident for Leclerc. Let's not forget also Grosjean and Stroll at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix, when Stroll was tipped over, upside down, and Grosjean hit the barrier. If the Halo wasn't there, it might have been a bit of a worse story than what we had. And the most clearest example, the highest profile example, Lewis Hamilton in Italy 2021 when Verstappen mounted his Mercedes. Have we not learned our lesson from 8 years ago? Same track, same conditions, same scenario. Another driver could have crashed into the crane or hit a marshal. Now here comes the age-old debate with wet conditions and Formula 1. There's an outcry of anger at the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix, as remember, we only had 2 laps behind the safety car in wet conditions. Some call that race a farce and not in the true spirit of the racing that shouldn't have counted, or the race should have been perhaps run another day. And then we had Japan 2022, where they were allowed to race in wet conditions, but now some people saying it's not safe enough. I think the sport still's not found a new Charlie Whiting, may God rest his soul, someone who can make the correct quick decision. And again, the FIA has come under fire, and David Coulthard has said we are the fastest sport in the world, and we need the fastest stewarding to accompany this. Recently in Singapore, Perez did not know if he won the race or not for a few hours after a safety car infringement. Eventually, the FIA popped points on his super license, and Perez kept the win. Again, if a decision was perhaps made during the race, perhaps Perez could have enjoyed his victory more. I understand with Leclerc cutting the final corner in the Japanese race, yes, that decision would have needed to be made after the race because there wouldn't be enough time to make a decision. But again, it led to Verstappen not being sure if he could celebrate second championship crossing the line. Remember Felipe Massa and Lewis Hamilton in the 2007 Brazilian Grand Prix? Massa thought he won it, and then is that Glock? And then Lewis won the championship, and of course they decided last season, will Max ever cross the finish line knowing he's won the championship? Maybe third time lucky next season. The race, the race will finish and he will know he's got the world champion crossing the line. So coming back to the point on safety and quick decision making, the FAI needs someone who can make the right decision quickly, ideally when the race is still live. I know racing fans hate it when a result is decided in a room rather than on track. I think the 2021 decider is still very much in the minds of the FIA, and they would rather spend more time making the good right decision instead of making the wrong snap decision. They need someone who can control the race and get it neutralised before a crane comes on the circuit to recover a retired car in wet conditions with poor visibility. Should the FIA be more let them race and have the Japan 2022 mentality, or be cautious like in Belgium 2021? Let me know in the comments, and we can have a talk about it. Another question is that, do I think the 2022 regs have improved Formula 1? I do believe the field is much more closer together and competitive. For example, the de facto back markers Williams and Aston Martin are scoring points on occasion, and the midfield battle is perhaps the most intriguing and closest and exciting one we've had seen for ages. It just shows what a talent Verstappen is dominating in this era, with all the cars really competitive and close together, doing these amazing results, back of the field, still getting the win. Some may say this is because of the advantage of the overspend by Red Bull, but Perez is just edging out Leclerc for second at the moment. However, let's remember Perez's total may be higher if he did not have to give way to Verstappen. Surprisingly, I see Aston Martin ahead of Haas and Alfa Romeo in the standings in 7th. Maybe Red Bull and Aston Martin should face a points penalty for overspending and gaining an advantage. Finally, getting back into the last 4 races, some people also ask me, why do we have the Mexico City, Sao Paulo and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as opposed to the Mexican, Brazilian and United Arab Emirates or Emirates Grand Prix? Well, put it simply, it's the local government making the Grand Prix happen and not the national government. So the local government is paying for the right to get the credit. Literally, can Lewis Hamilton maintain his 100% win record, 100% win every season record? Who will prevail in the battles for the second place between Perez and Leclerc, and fourth place at Sainz and Russell in the Drivers' Championship? Can Norris hold on to the best of the rest in 7th? Can Ocon and Alonso work together to catch up and overhaul Norris? Can Ricciardo do enough to help McLaren finish ahead of Alpine in the standings? Can Red Bull clean sweep both championships with Verstappen and Perez finishing first and second in the Drivers' Championship? What do you guys think? And have you guys also got questions that need answering? Put them in the comments, and we'll watch the final 4 races with interest to see what happens and get answers to your questions. Well, thank you very much for watching, and let's enjoy the final rounds of the season. I will be back after the season finishes with my end of season driving ratings as per usual, and any transfer predictions if there are any 2023 seats left up for grabs by then, or any hot topics that emerge from the season. I'll also discuss those in that video as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you after Abu Dhabi, which in fact coincides with my birthday, so let's hope we have lots to celebrate come the end of the season. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.